The story begins in a quiet town where most dreams learn to stay silent. People woke up early, worked long hours, came home tired, and slept with hopes they never spoke out loud. In this town lived a young man named Elan. He was not poor, not rich, not famous, not forgotten, just invisible, like thousands of others who felt something burning inside them, but never found the courage to let it show. From the outside, Elan looked ordinary. He worked at a small printing shop, stacking papers, fixing jammed machines, and watching other people's words come to life on glossy pages, posters, books, magazines, flyers announcing dreams that belonged to someone else. Every time he held freshly printed pages in his hands, his chest tightened, not with jealousy, but with longing. Because Elan had stories of his own. Stories that woke him up at night. Stories that followed him on the bus. Stories that whispered to him when he stared at the ceiling after another long day. He imagined characters, worlds, emotions, so real they felt alive. But imagination was the only place they existed. He never finished writing anything. He tried many times. One week, he promised himself he would write every night. He lasted 3 days. Another time, he decided to wake up early and write before work. He overslept. Once, he filled 10 pages in a burst of excitement, convinced this was finally it. Then doubt arrived quietly and sat beside him, asking questions he couldn't answer. Is this good enough? Who would even read this? What if I fail? So he stopped. Months passed, then years. The stories remained, trapped in his head, heavy and restless. Every unfinished notebook became another reminder of who he wanted to be, but wasn't. One rainy evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Elan didn't go straight home. The sky was dark, streets nearly empty, rain tapping softly against the pavement. He walked without thinking, letting his feet decide where to go. Eventually, he found himself near the old railway yard at the edge of town. Most people avoided that place. Rusted tracks, broken lamps, silence that felt too loud. But Elan liked it. He sat on a cold bench, watching the rain blur the world into streaks of light and shadow. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to feel everything: the frustration, the regret, the fear that maybe his life would never change. That's when he noticed someone nearby. An elderly man stood beside the tracks, holding a lantern. He wore simple clothes, his posture slightly bent, his movements slow but steady. He wasn't waiting for a train. He was fixing something, tightening bolts on an old signal lever that looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Curious, Elan watched him. The man worked patiently, one motion at a time. Tighten, check, adjust, step back, repeat. After nearly an hour, Elan finally spoke. Why do you bother fixing that? No trains come here anymore. The old man looked up, his eyes calm and sharp at the same time. I know. Then why? The man smiled softly. Because I come here every evening. And every evening I do a little more than yesterday. Elan frowned. But what's the point if no one sees it? The old man wiped his hands and sat beside him. Do you only breathe when someone is watching? The question landed heavier than expected. The man continued. Most people think change needs applause. They think progress must be loud. But the strongest transformations happen quietly, when no one is looking. Elan hesitated, then found himself talking about the stories, the unfinished pages, the frustration, the feeling of being stuck while time moved forward without him. The old man listened without interrupting. When Elan finished, the man nodded slowly. You are not lacking talent, he said. You are lacking continuity. Continuity? Elan repeated. Yes, the man said. You keep starting fires but never feeding them. You wait for motivation, like it's a gift that must arrive first. But motivation comes after action, not before it. Elon sighed. I try, but I always stop. The man pointed to the signal lever. This didn't move because I pushed it hard once. It moved because I touched it every day, even on days I was tired, even on days I didn't feel like it mattered. He leaned closer. Consistency is not exciting. That's why most people avoid it, but it's unstoppable. That night, Elon went home with the words echoing in his mind. He didn't promise himself anything dramatic. No grand goals, no big declarations. He opened a blank page and wrote one paragraph. Just one. The next day, he wrote another. Some days, the words flowed easily. Other days, writing felt like dragging heavy stones uphill. There were mornings he wanted to quit before starting, nights when the sentences felt empty and useless. But he remembered the old man. So he kept going. One paragraph became 1 page. 1 page became 5. 5 became 10. Weeks passed. For the first time in his life, Elon noticed something strange. His identity was changing. He no longer thought of himself as someone who wants to write. He was simply someone who wrote. Not because he felt inspired every day, but because he showed up anyway. Months later, the printing shop felt different. Instead of envy, Elon felt motivation. Instead of longing, he felt direction. He still stacked other people's words, but now he was building his own. One evening, as he placed the final period on a manuscript he never thought he'd finish, Elon didn't celebrate. He didn't feel fireworks. He felt calm. Because the real victory had already happened long before. He had become consistent. He sent his work out. Rejections came, one after another. They hurt, but they didn't stop him. He wrote again. Another story, another submission, another rejection. And then, one quiet morning, an email arrived. Someone had read his work. Someone believed in it. Years later, Elon returned to the railway yard. The old man was gone. The signal lever stood firm, polished, cared for. Elon smiled. Because he finally understood. Dreams don't die because they're too big. They die because people stop showing up. And success is never about one perfect moment. It's about thousands of ordinary moments stacked on top of each other until something extraordinary is born. So if you are tired, if you feel behind, if your dream feels distant, don't wait for motivation. Write 1 page. Take 1 step. Do 1 small thing today. And then do it again tomorrow. Because the future is not built in a single decision. It is built in repetition. 1 quiet effort at a time. The moral of the story is that true success is built through consistency, not sudden effort or talent. Dreams remain only dreams when action is irregular. But even the smallest daily effort, repeated over time, creates powerful change. Motivation fades, doubt appears, and results may come slowly. Yet those who keep showing up, especially on the hard days, eventually transform their lives. What you do every day shapes who you become, and persistence will always outwork intention.